You can retire, have a comfortable thing, but that's just like an accomplishment. That's like a self-centered accomplishment. There's a part in it. I mean, that is important. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But what's more important is how you can drive someone else to do the same, how you can drive others to have that impact, right? Because, like, you have to be fishers of men, right? What that means is you're impacting others to become leaders. You're impacting others to be stewards. You're impacting others to have good values around you, right? The other person has to feel loved when you're talking to them. That's the only way you can really create an impact. I was like, how do I start a business? What do I do? So, like, do you remember like LimeWire and Kazaa and like Napster? Those are like CD burning, like you burn songs online, right? This is like late 90s, early 2000s. So I was the kid that would go to all the other students and ask them what their song playlist. I would go back home in my AOL trial 56K modem and download as many songs as I can, put a label on it, and go sell it to my fellow students in high school. Like, that's where my entrepreneurial mind started in like freshman year of high school. I have a little bit of an ego. I have a little bit of pride of who I am. Sometimes I'm overconfident. The founders are they have way more humility than I do, to be honest. But in reality, you learn from those moments. You grow as a person and see that, okay, you know what? You're not going to make everybody happy, but everybody you can learn from, regardless of their background, their feedback, the credibility, the style. It doesn't matter whether they're angry or not, and some people are just emotional when they are providing feedback, and they're not angry, but they're just emotional because they're passionate, right? And these are things you learn about human beings as you kind of evolve. Don't make the mistake, if you're watching this podcast, that, oh, this is too late to start a business around HighLevel. I think this is very early. We're just getting started with all the AI stuff. I mean, I think we just launched a partnership with OpenAI. From what I know, Chase is kind of leading that world. Like, can you imagine the next level up and all the features that are coming out? Like, it's like beyond comprehension in my mind at this point.
Welcome, Paulson Thomas. I am so excited to have you on the podcast, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
It is truly a blessing, truly an honor to be here. Um, what's funny is, you meet so many people in the world of marketing and automations, and I never imagined the world of HighLevel to turn into a family. Meaning, like, on my birthday, I have customers like wishing happy birthday before family members do, which no pun intended, but it's like we truly have a community, and I can tell you it is genuine, authentic, and people really like connecting. So it's awesome to connect with both of y'all, and I feel like we just saw each other at the conference not too long ago. But thanks for having me on your podcast. This looks pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
I'm so super excited for you to be here, Paulson, because you're such a big name in high level. I think, didn't you start with high level like a few months after Robin?
That's right. Yeah, so I think Robin came on board 2018, end of 2018 or December or something like that. I started hovering myself around all the things he was doing. He's like a big bro, and I feel like the little bro that just annoying, just learning everything from him and just jumping on board with things. That's what I always felt like. And I think by June of 2019, I came on board.
What has it been like for you, Paulson, to see like high level go from like this little baby software company? And you've been such a big part of that. I do want to definitely give you a shout out and credit for that, because you really have been a big part of helping high level to get to this point. And what has that felt like for you, just as a person and professionally, to have been a part of something so amazing? It's really like a movement more than a software.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a privilege for me to be here, and it's a privilege to see the journey. It's a privilege, like pressure is privilege, and I never imagined the type of pressure that something like this could bring. Different leaders have different different things that they see through this, journey. For me, I feel like it was like such an infant that I just watched it grow into a toddler to now kind of like a full-blown adult, like, so it it's interesting in that way in how the company grew. I don't think any of us, I think Sean talks about it a lot. Like none of us have a master plan. And that's by design. We don't think of it in the sense outside of the next quarter. Like I don't think about Q2, I think of Q1 and that's it. And that's our version of being present. When we were younger, I would just think of that month. When we were even younger, I would just think of that week that we're in, right? So over time, as we grew, we have to obviously plan at least few months ahead. Um, but it's hard to plan for something like this. There's no mastermind you can walk into and be like, show me your SOPs, let me, help build a massive company. But I think the way we built it is in such a beautiful like lane, which is customer led. Obviously, we're a product led company, even though I'm not a product oriented guy. But either way, because we lean towards a customer of like, what do they want? That's what we build, and nothing else matters. And it's still the case, as you all might have experienced at the conference. Like Sean's still talking to customers who are on a 14-day trial that have a widget issue, and it's like, why? What happened? Why are you interacting with this thing? Like that's just his genuine interest, and that's the way all of us function. So therefore, we stay very present with our customer base and allows us to like I feel like we all built it together. I don't feel like high-level leadership built it, or I don't feel like I built it or Chase built it. I just feel like we're in this massive group project together, and it's a evolving project.
I love that, and I think that's so fun that you can see the collaborative nature of all of you, and you all have your own zone of genius. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so evident. And but I want to go back because like I don't know if you know this, but our podcast is very much designed to get to know the person, right? The person behind the talent, the entrepreneur. And so can we go back before high level and let's I want to get to know you, Paulson. Let everybody know kind of what led up to high level.
Yeah. That's I didn't know that's the format and the
Yeah.
theme of the
We're
podcast,
gonna
which
get
is
to
even
know
more
Paulson.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I wasn't prepared for that, but I love it because that's what matters more. It's the human
People
behind
connect with
the
people.
title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I grew up in an immigrant family. My dad was a pastor. My mom was an arts teacher. Somehow those genes leaned me towards entrepreneurship, and because they were both in the people building business, right? At the end of the day, regardless of whatever background you have, I was witnessing to individuals who just focused on other people. And being my mom was a teacher, so like she had a way of connecting with her students in a way. So like at home, it was an extension of what we did at school as siblings, right? It was just like very creative household, very authentic household. So I always had this entrepreneurial spirit inside me, but didn't know what to do. Being a South Asian son, the currency that you're built on is education. So like you're like most of my cousins and families and friends, like most of them have either a master's degree or higher. Anything below that, I'm in a culture where you're kind of like a black sheep if you don't have at least a master's. Like most of us are trained to be a doctor. Most of us are trained to, get a PhD, and that's even if you made no money. Like, but the fact that you have a doctorate in your title, like that matters to the culture quite a bit, and that's where you develop a voice. Now, you may not agree with all of it, but what it does is create structure to an ambitious person, right? So early on, I focused on education. I went into radiology as I was terrible in high school. Like, I mean, I was an entrepreneurial like entrepreneurial person in high school. So I didn't care about the grades. I didn't agree with the way culture that I was part of. Like it was like I don't care about school that much, you know. I already learned enough at home, right? So in my head, I was like, how do I start a business? What do I do? So like if you, I'm gonna age myself here a little bit. Do you remember like LimeWire and Kazaa and like Napster? Like those are like CD burning. Like you burn songs online, right? This
Yeah.
is like late 90s, early 2000s. So I was the kid that would go to all the other students and ask them what their song playlist. I would go back home in my AOL trial 56K modem and download as many songs as I can, put a label on it, and go sell it to my fellow students in high school. Like that's where my entrepreneurial mind started in like freshman year of high school, you know? And that evolved, that burn kind of evolved into, okay, I've got to constantly learn books. You come across like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then Napoleon Hills, and the all the gateway books into the world of entrepreneurship. But even then, I was scared to take the risk. I listened to my parents and went into going into healthcare. So I did my degree in radiology sciences, and I was like CT tech slash radiology tech. So like I was not a doctor, but I took the imaging for like if you came into an ER, I was the guy that was scanning you on a CT scanner, like if that makes sense. So imaging was like I was a visual person, so imaging made sense for me. And over time, that got me interested in photography. And I never became a photographer, but I got into like design in general. So I started looking at graphic designs, and all of a sudden, some guy, in his garage is talking about this video about how he made millions. And I'm like, oh yeah, digital marketing. Let me go learn about it. Took my first 997 course in SMMA, social media marketing, and learned this whole new world of business, and brought me into the world of back then, lead generation was the most popular thing at the time in like 2014, 2013, those days. So yeah, my background is in healthcare. Got me into imaging, that got me into kind of pictures and photography and design, and then creative mind just got me into marketing like that.
So how did you take how so you grew up in a family that extremely valued education. So
Yeah.
how did they take the leap from you going from radiology to, hey, I'm just going to start a business?
Yeah, I actually never really told too many family members that I became an entrepreneur, right? So like, well, of course my wife. My wife, we got married in like 2011. And the first mistake I made in marriage, one of the first mistakes of many things you learn in marriage, we just celebrated our 14th year not too long ago.
Congratulations.
What I Yeah, thank you. What I learned was, I should communicate better that I'm gonna make this jump and have a backup plan of some kind. My backup plan in my head when I made the jump from radiology to digital marketing was an MBA in finance. So I got into a graduate school, and doing my MBA was my backup to my agency startup. So in case if the agency didn't work out, I always knew I can go back to my MBA and climb the corporate ladder if I needed to. But I was like, as I start this business, how will I be, what's I can't hurt myself learning more about business doing an MBA, right? So I did that simultaneously. As I started an agency, I did my MBA in finance. And that was like several years after my undergrad, right? That was kind of like my blueprint, except I need to tell my wife that I'm going to make this jump. I came home, and in my 2 week notice period with my previous employer, about a week in is when I told her, hey, I'm not going to be going to a traditional job anymore. And of course, that was really rough, right? Because we didn't have a backup plan. I was led to believe by ton of coaches that you could just go get a client, and that was not the case. Even though I had enough sales skills, enough confidence, and things like that. It was not easy to get a client, especially in the beginning. So that was kind of my jump. Is the backup plan? The MBA backup plan was the kind of the insurance.
Yeah. So, and so from that point, you like, what did it look like as you were transitioning into getting that first client? Can you
Yeah,
talk about that?
yeah, absolutely. So in 2014, the world of digital marketing, as I entered it, was very much lead generation oriented. Facebook ads were like the next big thing. It was in the early stages. And established businesses was already on Google. The new folks without a lot of big budget or uncertainty just tested out, Facebook ads. Early on, because I was a person from healthcare, my gut told me to build an agency around healthcare. And my undergrad was in healthcare management. So I knew how to manage departments in healthcare. I had teams of like, 20, 30 people at a very young age, kind of knew kind of basics of how to run a kind of a business in a container kind of a feel. Um, but over time, I was like, you know what? Dentistry made a lot of sense because in healthcare, dentists were the only entrepreneurial figures that I can recognize. Most of the other doctors that I saw were academias or they're clinicians, where dentists were the entrepreneurs of healthcare to me. Similar to chiropractors, they have to independently build a business, a brand first before they could really thrive, right? So because of that, I had to choose between chiros and dentists made a lot more sense to me because they were um, like in my head, it was a need-based patient care, where chiro to me was not a need-based, right? It was like people cannot avoid dentist at some point, whether they go to them or not, they're gonna have to go see one, right? So because of that, I went all in on dentistry. The coaches that I had at the time, the one thing that I did early on in 2014 was connect with people that were already established. So I had a good friend of mine that went to Texas A&M in Houston. So he was like, "Hey, there's this guy in Texas A&M. He does marketing kind of stuff. You should call him." So I want to say 2014, I got his number, which was Robin Alex in 2014. And I was like, "Hey, Robin, um, I was told to just give you a call. I'm just this random guy in Houston. Can I like come shadow you?" So in 2014, you have to know the landscape of coaching. You had maybe four or five coaches in the world of
Hmm.
marketing. That's it,
Hmm.
right? If I had to name them, it would be like Dan Henry, Russell, of course. You have Billie Jean in the early days. You have Ty Lopez. You have few others that are all really big in the U.S. market. Of course, there are so many everywhere else, but they were kind of the big ones in the U.S. market. So I early on jumped into those courses. I would swipe my credit card to just jump into the courses. And Robin, we were on the call. He's like, "Yeah, hey, I'm getting ready to go to San Diego. There's this guy over there who puts together events. You should just come." So that guy happened to be Billie Jean. This is like 2014, and I go there blindly, walk in, and I'm corporate, right? So I'm like, I have my suit jacket on, collared shirt, and I see a room full of like over 600 marketers. And that was my first time meeting Rob and Alex. And I met Billie Jean. By then, I was already in Billy's program, School of Genius, for like a couple of months. I met people back then. The top students were guys like Rob Bailey, Mike Cooch, Roxanne Ray, Matt Plapp, Josh Nelson, Nicholas, what's his name? Nick and Sema. I forgot his last name. But either way, these were some of the like advanced people in Billy's program. So I got connected with really, really sound agency operators because I went in and invested in, at the time, probably one of the most expensive programs. It was like almost 10 grand or something for like a short amount of time. And but that allowed me to understand how to run an agency, how to think about it the right way in like a very short amount of time. I learned as many skills as I possibly can when it comes to sales. And I learned, okay, I'm going to go all in on industry. I'm going to have a high ticket, price point. I'm going to get someone else to fulfill it for me. I'm going to stay the face of it and just focus on sales. And that's kind of the way I started evolving until COVID happened.
Hey, Paulson, can we talk a little bit? So, I had you on my channel maybe a couple years ago, and um, I had just saw that you posted something about your faith and saying, I'm a Christian. That's not very popular. I know I won't get a lot of engagement on this post, and I just thought he's so right because, we can share our faith and things like that, and it's like people would love a funny joke, but when you talk about something that's so personal to you, it's like suddenly nobody really wants to comment or engage on that. And so I like to say, you were like bold with your faith before it was cool. Now it's a little bit cool to be bold with your faith. But can you talk a little bit about your faith journey? I know that you were raised by I don't, do you call them pastors or ministers?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so oftentimes, when we're raised in these households, we rebel. Did you ever have a time of rebellion, or was there ever a time where you're like, oh, this is much more than just what I was taught. Like this is a personal thing for me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I never really talk about faith publicly because one, it's I think many people walk in different types of faith. So I want to be respectful to all people in all facets. I personally went through, a journey being born into a Christian household. Like my dad was a pastor. I was born and like I joke around internally, or I was born by the stage, because they're like, I was one of the first ones to just jump on stages for high level all the time, and it was very comfortable for me. And part of that is because of my faith background. It's like the church oriented person, right? I don't think my faith was that strong growing up because as a pastor's kid, you see the ugly side of church as well, right? You see what every family's prayer request is. You see what, their kids do because you're part of that. And so for a long time, I don't think I was a good person of faith, if I were to, kind of just reflect back. But over time, as you grow, and mature, especially like in marriage, you learn different values, right? You learn what's important, what's not important, and it's an important piece for me, but that is not the kind of the piece I function on when it comes to high level, if that's the right word. I treat everyone the same, regardless, of their faith background, of course. But I think the key is to go through personal experiences. I've been through enough personal experiences where I feel confident in who I serve and what I believe and what I stand for. At the same time, I have a lot of love and respect for anyone who doesn't even believe in anything because I treat everyone as they're God's creation. That's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, I mean, long time, I don't think I was the most devout Christian, but over time, as you grow, I think in my 30s, I'm 39 now, getting ready for my 40th year in the next few months. But like, I think after I turn like 34, 35, you realize, as humans, you try to like make all these different jumps in your journey because you have this grand master plan. And the whole time you realize it was just a straight shot. You didn't have to like work this hard to get to your destiny or journey. And that's kind of what I experience, in these days. It's like the whole time it was already figured out. Why are you laboring yourself so, masterfully trying to get to this place while it was kind of just laid out. He just had to be faithful in some sense.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's okay to be proud of what we believe in our faith and still be respectful of other people who believe something different. And I think it's also like our responsibility as human beings. If we require other people to respect what we believe, we also have to give that in return. So I think it's not it's not a bad thing to be proud and bold about your faith, regardless of what that faith is. Because aren't we all just in this life journey, just trying to figure it all out and just be supportive and respectful of each other and all of those great things? It's okay if we disagree. That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, I think all faith will teach you to love the other person next to
Mhm.
you, and that's kind of the number one, you know, commandment I kind of live as much as I possibly can by, like love every person just the way they are, regardless of their strengths or weaknesses or where they are in their journey. And, you know, one thing I learned from this journey of high level is humility matters a lot. And it's very hard to be a person of humility without the faith component. It's just very hard. And if you have ever met Sean or Robin or Varun, I mean, these guys are some of the most humble founders I've ever seen or met in the industry. And, um, you know, I think that kind of rubs off in the community as well. It's like you tend to attract people with humility when you do that, right? You start to attract people that are similar to you, right? Like that, and that's what I see. A lot of the leaders that I look in the world of high level today, they're doing really, really good numbers and really, really like big things that like none of us would have imagined 5 years ago, right? It's like, you know, some people have four fancy cars, three mansions, and a private jet, and this and that, and you know, no one knows about it. And it's like that's really cool because you're making sure you're operating in an egoless world, right? And I think a little bit of that have to do with your faith values. If I, you know, that's kind of the way I look at it.
You know, I notice Robin especially when anyone comments in the Facebook group and they're critical in any way, like I saw some post someone had, you know, given feedback on the summit. And it's like everyone I talked to is like, oh my gosh, the summit gets better every single year. It's so incredible. And he wasn't like ripping it apart, but he was just, you know, giving his version of, you know, the event. And I immediately felt like I need to get in the comments and, you know, defend my high level team. And I saw Robin's comment and it was, I'm so sorry that, you know, that you experienced that or something. We'll do better. And I just thought, I need to be more like Robin because he's just so humble and he always takes that approach. We'll do better, you know.
Yeah.
And Sean, when you say, "Hey, we really need this to do this," he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's really a good point, and I'll get somebody on that." And so and it's not just like, you know, affiliates of high level. It's just in the town hall, you know. It's like people saying, "Hey, we need this," and Sean's like, "Oh yeah, so and so, get on that. We need to do that."
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, if you receive that message and you have a little bit of an ego, it'll hit your pride and you're like, "Oh, it wasn't good enough. Why is this guy being so mean?" You know, like or her, or whoever it is. But if you look at it from the lens of like, okay, there is competition here today in the world of marketing and SaaS that are running 20,000 attendee conferences. No matter how well we did, there's room for improvement. No matter how many millions we spend, there's room for improvement because someone else is doing it at a bigger scale already,
Mhm.
right? You have massive companies. I don't want to name, of course, but you know, you go to California, you go to San Fran, you go to, you know, Silicon Valley, you see, go to London, you go to Singapore, you see these massive companies doing massive things. So if that's the case, um, it's very important to take feedback exactly the way it is without any bias, not imagine, you know, uh, like if you can get to a world where you take feedback without being offended, that's a superpower.
That's
And
good.
as a company, I think that's our superpower.
Yeah.
We don't have, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I can tell you from so many scenarios that feedback is taken without an ego attached to it. It's taken, the criticism that we receive is taken without any biases. So otherwise we can't take that, look at it, and see what we can improve, right? Otherwise we will solve with biases even afterwards, right? So I think that's what got us far, is being able to talk to the brand new person who has no clients. They just started digital marketing like Paulson did, like in 2012, 2013, with no, like there's no, they don't have enough experience to provide feedback. But as big builders, like you have to take that person's feedback because they have a new perspective that no one has ever seen. They are unbiased typically because they're not exposed to so many other aspects, right? So I think that's kind of our superpower. Robin, to your point, is he sets an example that is, you know, very hard to achieve, honestly. Like I have a little bit of an ego. I have a little bit of pride of who I am. Sometimes I'm overconfident. The founders are way more, they have way more humility than I do, to be honest. Like, but in reality, you learn from those moments. Like you grow as a person and see that, okay, you know what? You're not going to make everybody happy, but everybody you can learn from, regardless of their background, their feedback, the credibility, the style. It doesn't matter whether they're angry or not, and they're just, some people are just emotional when they are providing feedback, and they're not angry, but they're just emotional because they're passionate, right? And these are things you learn about human beings as you kind of evolve.
So, Paulson, you kind of touched on an interesting topic with multicultural subscribers and users of the software. And I can't help but wonder, I know for me, it's been so enlightening to be able to work near and around a community and even have people on my team that are from other countries. It's been, I mean, for me personally, it's been enlightening to see different cultures and how they interact and how they communicate. And can you describe like your on ramp to the additional exposure? Because my goodness, we went so far so fast since I came on board, like 2019. So talk about the evolution of your exposure.
Yeah, and you mean the user base?
Yeah, just everything from the user base to your team to your travels to different countries and being able to experience that firsthand. Just whatever you want to share that's been impactful or
Yeah.
even insightful.
Yeah, I'll share, but I'll segment my thoughts into two things, one external, one internal. Externally, when I think about culture, when I think about internationalization, that was a really important piece for us in 2025, and I think we're going to double down on it moving forward in 2026. You're going to see more events happening in Dubai, Australia, London, India, Philippines, like you're going to see more and more things happen internationally as we grow. Um, and every single area has its own culture. Every single, you know, kind of lane has the way we, like, for example, the way we leave reviews at a business culturally is different here in America, right? We're very rough. We're like rough. We're just like, the burger was not good. Okay, honey, like you don't have to eat a burger today. Like we're very just edgy in America. But when you go to other countries, they're like, hey, it's a bit more softer. Like, hey, I wish there was different options. Like they're just very like, you see differences like that in how customers interact with the business. And then you see the interaction between business owners and their teams that are very different as well, in how someone in UK operates their business versus the way someone in Phoenix operates their business. So culturally, where does that leave us? It leaves us to be, there's room to expand, right? There's different operational lanes, especially as we grow. I think Sean was talking about the other day in getting into project management, right? Getting into different lanes of business function. And I thought it was interesting because the way like, you know, different cultures use project management is totally different than probably ours. You know, we're probably more robotic versus they're probably going to use notes a lot differently, right? There's different cultures in labeling, there's different cultures in greeting, right? So I think eventually, like you know, I don't want to speak behalf of the company, but in my personal opinion, the world of high level you see today, I think will become the US space. Eventually we'll like eventually you'll see, I think, a Asia Pacific base, you'll see a European base, you'll see like an African base, you'll see an Australian base. Like a lot of the companies when they evolve from like 2,000 employees to 10,000, that's kind of usually what happens. They have local presence in all those areas, so you're not taking the US space and thinning them out in so many different places. Today we travel like, I mean, every other week we're all traveling, right? So I think culturally, when I think externally, eventually we're gonna have to have local presence in all those areas, right? The
I think
whether we're
that makes sense to be able to support those people on the ground a little bit more intimately.
yeah, like Australians purchase things online differently versus
Mm.
us. We swipe a lot. Like Americans, we swipe left and right.
Mhm.
Then we return, knowing we can return. Like that's just the culture of returning. But in other areas, like Australia, as an example, they only purchase often if they're 100% sure about the product. They're not purchasing
Mm.
with the liberated mind that they can return anything in any condition, right? So there is behavior, consumer behavior that's just so different in all those places. I think our certified admin program is really interesting, right? You see different evolving of cultures coming in, which leads me to my second thought internally, right? We have this, over the years, I've seen this kind of challenging or a negative feel of the term like virtual assistants, right? I don't ever call anybody a virtual assistant as I've learned business over the last 5 years, because most of these individuals are just not local to you, right? They can call you a virtual assistant just because you're not around locally, right? If you want to be fair. But what I realize is international talent is very, very strong. It's not, you know, you don't have to teach a lot of people a lot of things anymore. It's like you're trying to navigate and interview what they already know, right? The world of like in 2014, when I first hired my remote like staff member for the first time, I'm taking someone from scratch with no digital marketing experience and I'm teaching them, hey, here are the basics of marketing the first couple of months. Then I'm teaching them, hey, here's how you do Facebook ads, here's how you do funnels, here's how you do automations. Like the world of remote talent was you build from scratch. But now you come, you know, you're in a world of experts. People are certified in systems already left and right. So in my mind, um, the perception a lot of us have towards remote talent, I think we should, I think it's time to change that feel of like, oh, I just have a VA. Well, no, that person has a master's degree. They built several businesses. They have systems that are probably, and they have exposure to five other businesses at the same time, which is probably better than the entrepreneur, right? So I think we're seeing that evolve and change, especially in our certified admin program. The talent is, of course, you have to interview and make sure they're good at what they do, but we're seeing a really cool cultural shift happen, in my opinion, in high level when it comes to international talent.
You know, one of the things that I love to tell people, first, don't choose a software that you're not willing to invest the time to learn. That's the biggest part. You have to learn it. But I also love telling people, especially like beginners, like they're just kind of starting to think about what kind of thing could I do online. I think COVID kind of birthed this new like thought process of like I want to work from home. But I love to tell people it's like taking the time to learn high level is not just like you're learning some tool. There's literally like endless opportunities that you can dive into with the knowledge of the high level tools, whether you want it to be, an assistant, an admin, whatever it is, start your own agency, work for one of the white label support teams, work for high level. It's literally endless. So
Yeah.
it's like even if you don't start your own business, just creating the high level account, learning the tools, getting certified, that alone opens up so many doors and opportunities for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I used to joke with my digital marketing friends back then. It's like building an agency is like the ultimate personal development course. In today's world, I think going through and building out a very strong high level account is a pretty good personal development course, right? Because it forces you to elevate your marketing and sales skills. Like otherwise you just underutilize it. And let's be honest, this thing is huge. Like it's not easy. Like they're, like I'll be the first one to tell you the high level thing can get very complicated very fast if you don't know what you're doing. So I welcome people to jump into our kickoff call, launch pads, and spend time with our top affiliates, and learn how to navigate through in the early stages because we've democratized development in a way, right? Every single type of digital citizen, if I may say that, have a different need. For example, a videography marketing agency have a different need versus a social media influencer versus a newspaper company versus a publishing company versus a small business owner. So when we get feedback of like, Paulson, this is missing or that's missing, well, great. We're going to take the feedback from everybody. But that leaves us with like 28 ICPs. Doesn't mean all those features are relevant for you, right? So you have to comb through and navigate through quite heavily. We often used to see people churn out in the beginning and then come right back after a month and a half, 2 months. It's like a double trial experience pretty often, right? But that's because someone else guided them and said, hey, stick with it. There's something to it. You're missing this. So that initial onboarding, I think, if you can get through it without being overwhelmed, without, just take your time, kind of slow pace yourself and just learn the systems, I think it'll set you up for success long term as a new set of features come out every Friday. I'm saying this.
It's job security for people like Marla and myself, though, so we're
Yeah.
totally
This is
fine with
true.
that.
Paulson,
You
it's funny because, I think there are, Melissa Blair and I have talked so extensively about this topic where she was like, okay, I need to roll up my sleeves and learn it and build it from scratch. And I, on the other hand, was running a busy agency in the beginning. And so I paid for someone to come in and build, and I literally deployed in my old CRM and in my new CRM that I had paid to have built out so that they could run, kind of simultaneously, obviously not firing off everything, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
there's something that's for me that was very powerful in seeing it built exactly the way that I needed it, because that was a training opportunity for me to see it built right. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I can see exactly how everything should be built and how things should flow. And so I think there's, the important thing that I always tell people coming into high level or into any SaaS is, there's different on ramps, whether that's you building it yourself, which can be very valuable to someone who, especially if you're trying to avoid cost and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then there's also the flip side of that to a busy professional or business that's coming in, being able to reach out to someone who has that prior experience to build a really good custom solution for you so you can hit the ground running fast. So that's been my experience, and I love that there are a lot of people now that can provide that type of product for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest observation I have quite often in the high level family is I'll get on a call with somebody and they will tell me how they're struggling. in business in general. And, I find myself as a therapist sometimes, and that's okay. That's part of the world of high level. That's what we did. We jump on calls with people and help them out.
Mhm.
And then 2 weeks later, another entrepreneur would jump in and they tell me how they thrive, and it's the same type of business, same industry,
Mhm.
similar offers. And I would wonder what's the difference between that person versus this person. And it all comes down to the entrepreneur that's operating these businesses, because
Mhm.
every single lane and industry is crushing it. At the same time, somebody's bankrupting it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? It's the entrepreneur. When I think of high level and the different ramps, there are the same similar systems across the board when it comes to onboarding. Like we have the same kickoff call, same launchpad experiences, same Zooms, very similar teams. Everything's free. Just jump in, we'll help you. There's no like salesy thing either. But the difference is the level of gravity that that person has when it comes to marketing and sales, whether it's experience, intellect, ability to troubleshoot, or just simply stress management, right? Like when you change from system to system, and back when I think about healthcare, like when we change from Epic to something else or ERP to something else, you guaranteed stress for 3 months across the board on all departments, because it's like this perception of change is reality of change, right? So it's like people imagine this big cruise liner being changed, and that's sometimes what they feel in the onboarding experiences, right? Oh man, this is too complicated, or that's this. But over time, I realize our system and ramping is not really changed at all in the last 6, 7 years. In reality, the type of entrepreneurs have changed, the type of
Mhm.
marketers have changed, the type of small business owners have changed. So to your point, Marla, like I think it's really important to surround yourself with the right person when it comes to high level. It's really important to get part of the community. Like entrepreneurship is freaking lonely. Like there is like I remember going to family dinners and friends dinners, and my head is in like, okay, when are my Facebook ads going to get disapproved? That's where my mind was in a Friday night while my cousin's like, hey, bro, how's football? I'm like, I don't care about football. Like, I don't, my mind is like, this dentist paid me, these ads better go live. Like, that's my stressor. So entrepreneurs have these, like, I feel like we're like different unique spirit beings because we think in a different lane. So therefore, we have to surround ourselves with entrepreneurs. Like you should have like a family friend that's an entrepreneur that you can just do life with. Because I found myself not being able to celebrate because no one else knew what I accomplished. Right? I
Mhm.
found myself totally stressed out because no one else knew what I just broke. Like these are things that matter a lot. And to your point, Marla, like that community component is huge when you're onboarding. Community component is huge when you're building and scaling. And that's why I love these events. The in-person events kind of glues a lot of it together.
The community is what I've built my whole business around, and it's because I was that person too, where it's like I always tell the story. I created my first webinar funnel. I did the video. It had beautiful slides. I don't know how long it took me to do this. I finally got it all done, and I left out of my office and I told my husband, we had a lawn care business. He's not techie. Okay. So I told my husband, oh my gosh, I just created this webinar platform. I think I literally thought I was going to be rich now because I just created this first webinar funnel. And he's like, cool. And I was like,
That's it.
what's happening in the universe right now? You don't get it. And I remember that feeling of like you want to celebrate, and you want to celebrate with people who understand what it took you to be able to do that. And that really also, wins are fun to celebrate, but the losses sometimes when you break something, like you said, or
Yeah.
you just need to go to someone and be like, oh my gosh, I'm like cash poor this month because I ran some ads and da 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 da. And it's like, people that don't have a business, they don't really get that. And so I
Yeah.
think that's why High Level is so good with the community. And I also think that that's why us, I did a video of why every SaaS agency needs to have a community. And it doesn't really matter what your niche is, it's just people with the same goals building something together. And I love in my community where they will, outside of the sessions, they will partner with each other and help each other because they're in the same niche or the same process. And it's like, that's really what we need and want, especially in this AI age. I feel like that is going to be a bigger driving factor, is the human connection and that community feel.
Yeah, I think if, to that point, like the whole AI thing and technology exposes the importance of human connection. Like it proves that we're spiritual beings, right? It's like we have this innate need to glue together, right? You have the extroverts, the introverts. I recently found out I'm an ambivert. Didn't know that was a thing. I'm just selectively fatigued or selectively excited at certain scenarios. But it all comes back to the human connection, right? So, I think you have to build a community around yourself and be part of a community, even if you have a community for yourself. Because, like, I had my own community of healthcare digital marketers before High Level. Like, I had that for like several years of like almost 3 or 4 thousand people. I was the only admin. I used to have Robin in there doing podcasts back in the day because he had a med spa agency. I had a dental agency. So we would jive and things like that. And it was just like a group of people that just either loved or hated talking to doctors, or they loved or hated talking to front desk of a clinic, right? And they're just like, just hashing stuff out together. And eventually it got to a point where people were like, hey, can we all come to Houston in the medical center? Because I'm in Houston. And they're like asking me to put together a mastermind, because like that naturally happened over years, right? And now we see that in the world of High Level. Like there is a community of SaaSpreneurs. There is a community of affiliates. There's a community of certified admins. There's a community of podcasters. There's a community of automations people. Now there's a community of AI people. Like we're starting to see different interest groups kind of take place. Oh, there's also a community of entrepreneurial women, right? Like there's a community of faith-based people. Like we're seeing so many different pockets of kind of I don't want to yeah, maybe families kind of come together, and it's kind of cool seeing that from far. It's like it's amazing to see that naturally.
High Level very much is like a family, and the summit is like a family reunion. I think Johan, he was saying the other day that, what was he saying, Marla, about, oh, it was like Facebook in real life.
Yeah,
What he
yeah.
was saying about the summit, because it was like we all talk to each other all the time on Facebook, and like, we see pictures of our families and all of those things. My Facebook profile is like my own personal community. That's how I use it. But I love it. And you're so, so right about those who have a community. We still need like our own community too, because I love to be able to talk to like you and Matt Decino and Johan and Wald from White Label Suite, like all of these amazing people, because you get to a certain level in your business that you've never experienced before. And you need to talk to other people who have been there or who are there right now to just kind of bounce off ideas. It's just so incredibly valuable. Honestly, the summit for me this year was less about the speakers and just more about nourishing those relationships with the people
Yeah,
that I have in my network, right? Like that. And just kind of going to a different level with those specific people. So that's
yeah.
kind of part of why I love this podcast too, because it's like, I know that you guys are amazing, but I want to also show everyone why you guys are so amazing.
Well,
Abs-
you guys are doing amazing things in the community and the world of High Level. So I think, over time it'll just naturally grow. Over time it'll just evolve and, kind of flame up more people similar to you, for more people that have similar values, right? I often, you know, I people tell me I have an old soul, and I have a lot of friends that are probably 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years older than me, that are just about starting the retirement, or like it just that just the type of people that I kind of gravitate towards. I don't know why, but either way, I often ask a lot of my friends, I'm like, hey, what is it that you would do differently about your life? What is it that like you would change? And some of these people that I have in my world are very successful entrepreneurs, or they've done a lot. They're on like 10 boards, had multiple startups and exits and all kinds of crazy things. And the common denominator is, you have to ask yourself, who will attend your funeral? Outside of family, outside of loved ones, who is there? And I always ask myself that. Have I had enough impact in this world where there is a good variety of people that I've, dedicated time and effort and spent time with, where they would feel obligated in a way, or with love, come to my funeral? And when I think of that, I'm like, money doesn't matter, the number of mansions don't matter, beach houses don't matter, jets don't matter, cars don't matter, none of this stuff matters. What matters is like how you made another person feel. At the end of the day, that's what humanity is about, right? Which is why a lot of times when I think of Sean, the one thing that stick out to me when it comes to Sean is he treats the 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 lowest person in his world and the highest person in his world the same. There's genuinely no difference. He would yell at them, he would celebrate them, he would love on them. He just treats everybody the same. And that was a big lesson for me. It's like, if I can do that, I'll probably have enough impact in this world. You can retire, have a comfortable thing, but that's just like an accomplishment. That's like a self-centered accomplishment. And that there's a part in it. I mean, that is important. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But what's more important is how you can drive someone else to do the same. How you can drive others to have that impact, right? Because like, if I think in some of the faith books it says you have to be fishers of men, right? What that means is you're impacting others to become leaders. You're impacting others to be stewards. You're impacting others to have good values around you, right? So I always ask myself that. But, it starts with community, like you said, Bridget. It starts with the love for the person. It starts with who you are, and has nothing to do with the business. It has nothing to do with technology. It's got nothing to do with status, stature, degrees. The other person has to feel loved when you're talking to them. That's the only way you could really create an impact.
I think on that along that same note, I think that Sean has done an amazing job of allowing that within the culture of the company and in the culture of the community. Because if we look at leadership, if whether it's the founders or yourself and everyone else in the organization, I think that he has done a great job of allowing that to become part of the culture of the community and the company, and you all exude that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's natural for him. This is just how he is. Like, it's he, he will be at Starbucks and he would just get so excited to talk to the barista there and what their life is about. Where'd you come from? Like he just genuinely interested. That's different than fabricated interest for a certain agenda, or I can't do that. I can't do what Sean does. I have to be energetic. I have to have like if I need to go work out, I need to have a breakfast to be social. Like, I'm like, I don't want to talk to thousands of people every single day because I'll find myself burnt out or fatigued. It's not natural for me. But for Sean, it's natural, right? So it's like some people have that gifting, some people learn that gifting. But at the end of the day, the outcome is you treating everybody the same. You treating everyone with respect, even if they're wrong. Like, when it comes to conflict management, you have to acknowledge the other person's perspective whether it's accurate or not. You have to still acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where problem solving starts, right? Like, yes, this system is not built for XYZ. I acknowledge that. We're not trying to force fit something that doesn't fit. Like, I never recommend anybody to do that, right? But Sean definitely sets like this amazing example of just treating everybody the same. And that's the way he treats all the leaders internally. That's the way he treats his family that I observe. That's the way he genuinely is, and it's easy to work for someone like that.
That's why I talk about all the time. When I choose a software, it's more about the leaders than it is the actual software. Because, I've been with High Level since 2021, and it wasn't all that it is now. But when you have good leaders, they build the culture, and they're the ones who will make sure that the software is up to par, will make sure that it's meeting all the needs of the customers. It's definitely, I've worked with bad leaders before, and it shows in the product and the community and all of that. So you can tell the quality of the leaders by the community and the quality of the product, for sure.
Absolutely. Um, and we're just getting started. I just feel like, in 2019, 2020, you saw like the ring of death, right? Now people don't even know what that is. Like, it's like we're in a different world of technology altogether. But in my mind, we're not even 5 or 10% in the journey. Like, we're just in the very early stage in my mind. So for some of us, like in the world of high level, it may feel like everyone knows high level. Everything is saturated and everybody knows what it is. But guys like myself and Chase and Kelsey, Brittany, like happen, like all of us, we go to so many events where we walk in and it's like 2,000 people, not one, most people don't know what high level is,
That's
right? So,
absolutely.
so
There's a
yeah,
there's an
so,
algorithm bias, you know? You're
right,
expo
exactly,
you're shown what you are interested in.
exactly. So don't make the mistake if you're watching this podcast that, oh, I'm pretty, this is too late to start a business around high level. I think this is very early. We're just getting started with all the AI stuff. I mean, I think we just launched a partnership with OpenAI. From what I know, Chase is kind of leading that world. Like, can you imagine the next level up and all the features that are coming out? Like, it's like beyond comprehension in my mind at this point.
It's so, so cool. And I
Yeah.
told Varun at the summit, I said, I just wanted to tell you that everybody's freaking out about it's so weird to have like, everybody's like, they release a new feature and like people are crying. And I was one of them because I think it just enforces like, oh, we're in the right place. We
Yeah.
made the right decision to build our businesses on this platform and to trust these people with our lives and all of those things. It gives you that like reassurance, like, oh, thank you. I mean, also amazing that we have the new features and all of those cool things, but
Right.
it just the constant development and just the progression of the software, that's really where the confidence comes. So it's like you said, I can't wait to see what
Yeah,
happens next year.
absolutely. The funny thing about that is, I don't know if you're familiar with DJ Sammy. DJ Sammy is the DJ that we had in the front of the stage while there were breaks happening, right? So we became friends over these conferences. So he reached out to me on text after the event. He's like, "Hey bro, like I'm totally confused of why people were like crying and shouting and yelling while Sean was just like rambling about all the features. It's like I've never seen anything like that." And he actually sent me like a video and like a voice thing. And he's like, "Dude, this is people. like it feels like they've been waiting for 4 years for something, and it like completely changed the way they do business. And it was so amazing to see that, because DJ Sammy is not someone in our community. He's just total. I mean, he uses HighLevel from what I know, has several businesses, does really well, but he's not like in the trenches waiting for the next workflow thing to come out, you know? But it was amazing to hear that from him, because I'm like, yeah, we don't even see the impact internally of these features and what's being developed. The customers do. It's life changing for them, especially when it comes to the fintech stuff, the payments, the invoicing, the contracts, all the AI stuff that came out, the rebilling, the SaaS. Like there's a lot to it. But it's the exciting part is we're just gonna only go as far as you want us to go, right? Whatever you all as customers want to build, that is where we go next. There's no grand plan, there's no master plan. It's like whatever Bridget and Marla tells us is what we're gonna do, and that's the way we operate this business. So then it's a collective effort. It's democratized development. We become your development arm. Y'all are the business operators, and we I think we can go pretty far that way.
I think you're 100% right. I can't wait to see what 2026 has in store for all of us. Paulson, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having
Paulson.
me. It's absolutely, Bridget and Marla. You know, what's what's funny is, all my last, I guess, thought I will just share as we kind of close out. Um, at the end of the day, the founders including, we're all just people. We don't have this superpower, grand thing, that's just geniuses. Like that geniuses hat doesn't exist. We're all just hard workers that are just listening to the customers, and that's where we're going. And if that's the case, then we can all, treat each other with grace, treat each other with, an egoless approach. We could, put all of our pride aside and really focus in on just helping the other person. And if we do that, I think you'll develop connections, you'll develop in, relationships, you'll develop more business, because you will tend to attract that same energy of just wanting to help another person. So thanks for having me on y'all's podcast. It's been quite amazing. Usually I'm on the other side interviewing someone else, and I don't think I've done this in a quite a long time. So this is so exciting. Hopefully, the audience got a lot out of this. I feel so privileged and humbled to just be even asked. So hopefully you get the founders in here as well, Chase and a couple of others as well, and Kelsey, and all the superheroes of HighLevel.
That's the plan.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. They're on the list.
Yeah.
Paulson, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Well, I have to say, I'm not surprised that Paulson would bring the fire like he did.
I'm not either. So good.
I love how this is what I love about these podcasts is that we get to show people what they are like normally. You know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of people they see Paulson, they see him on stage, they hear him in the videos and doing all those things, but it's like he said, he never gets to be the one being interviewed. And you hear from his story, he has a lot of experience and a lot of value to share, and what an incredible like position that he was in to just start with this brand new company and then just watch it grow up and get to this point where they're now valued more than $1 billion. Like this little baby software company is now just a few years later more than $1 billion. That is
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. I mean, that is definitely like I would be highlighting that on my resume.
They're they're so incredible, all of them. But one thing that Paulson mentioned, where he was talking about like, what is the difference in one person that makes it and another person who doesn't? And I think it is passion, commitment, you know, and just sticking with it.
Mhm.
I've experienced it in my business. I am 100% sure you probably have as well. But when you are committed and there's no other option than that, you allow yourself then to force yourself to succeed. Those are the people that win. You just keep showing up every day. You just keep doing the work. And that, like when he talked about that, it I kept thinking about an experiment that I did in my own business. It's like, why do some people succeed and others don't? And so I literally forced myself to be my customer and did all of the things. I took the calls with clients. I did, and it really is about showing up and doing the work. And I think that everybody who's coming along and you're just starting this journey, just keep going. That's the secret. And if you look at Paulson, that's exactly what he did. He showed up every day. The founders, I remember, Sean used to take support calls,
Mhm.
and that, and so he would get on calls with us. He showed up every day. It didn't matter what it took. He just showed up. And
Mhm.
that's how you succeed.
And I think a lot of people think that they just have to have everything perfect before they just launch or take their first call, you
Mm,
know? And it's like I always go back to there was a time on my channel where I interviewed Sean, and we were talking about the first time that they presented HighLevel to anyone. They
mm,
were in this tiny little like hotel room, where they have the meetings or whatever. And they were doing the sell. It was Robin and Sean were doing the sell while Varun was on the computer on the laptop manually signing people up. And it's like, that is how you get it done.
yeah,
It's not about the excuses. It's not about, oh, I don't have everything perfect, because you don't need it to be perfect to make the first sale.
yeah,
And if SVR, if they can do this in just a few short years and build more than $1 billion software company, starting out manually signing people up in a room, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
Really, what excuses do we have? Just do it. Just take the action. Don't be a lifetime learner. Don't worry about getting everything perfectly set up. Just start making sales and then figure the rest out
absolutely.
along the way.
Yeah, and if you fail forward. Don't, just keep going. You're
Yeah.
every entrepreneur goes through failures and setbacks or confusion in the beginning of any software that you're learning. So it's important to just keep going.
Yeah, and if any of these business owners that we have talked to, the one thing they all have in common is they have failed
Yeah,
many, many times. But there's so much to be learned through the failure. All of us can
absolutely.
tell you there's so
Yeah.
much to be learned through the failure. So don't be afraid to fail. Be grateful that you failed, because that's one failure under your belt that you're closer to reaching your goals.
Yeah, literally, I think I just said that on our last podcast. Or, diamonds are formed under pressure,
Mhm.
right? And you've got to go through it all in the trials and everything, and then that's how we grow and become successful in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
All
I'm
right.
super excited about the next one, Marla. It's going to
I
be
know.
so good. I'm really
Mm,
enjoying this, and I cannot wait for this one to be public. I think people are going to really see Paulson in a new light, more as a person than the Paulson Thomas. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Really excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for the next episode of Leverage and Lead. We'll see you.
Thanks
Bye.
for watching. Bye.
New episodes are added weekly. Make sure to subscribe and visit our website if you'd like to receive our newsletter or apply to be a guest at leverageandlead.com.